guys, Steve from B&S Customs here. Today I'm going to try and replace the fuel pump on my 1989 Corvette. First thing you're going to do before you do anything else when troubleshooting this is put some gas in the car. This whole video, I found at the end of it, the car was just out of the gas because the sending unit on the float in the tank was malfunctioning. It said the car had gas and it didn't. Even when when I pulled the pump assembly out of the tank, you could still see gas in the bottom of the tank, but it was so low, it just wasn't being picked up by the pump. So first thing you want to do is make sure you have gas in the car before you go through all the trouble I'm about to show you. So as you can see here, I've opened up the gas door here, cover, and there were 4 screws, one at each corner. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are all a size T15 Torx. Just remove those 4 and this whole piece will come right out. Now underneath this, when you pull this out, as you will see here, once you get the door off, what you'll see is the gas cap there. There'll be this rubber boot around it, and the lip of the boot will be tucked up underneath the edge here on the inside. Being that I got the camera in one hand here, I did this off screen, but all you're gonna do is you put your hand in the hole here, and with the other hand come on this side, push the rubber down and in, and you grab the lip over here, and just work the lip up around this back edge here. Take off the gas cap, and then pull the lip back. Eventually, it will come up over the lip of the filler neck here, and you'll be able to then pull out this overflow line, which is plugged right into the back of the rubber here. This is for any gas spillage or overflow that happens. It goes back into the tank. Once you have it here, you're just going to pull it, and you'll be able to work this front edge out as you do that. The lines here, there's 3 lines to disconnect. I don't know which one's which. There's a send and return and a third one as well. But you're just going to disconnect all 3. It shouldn't be any leakage, but you're going to want to grab a cloth just in case. And I've already hit these with PB Blast to help loosen up the bolts down in there. It's hard to see on this camera because there's no light with it, but let me see if I can get a... Now that we have the light, you can see all the bolts going around the cap there. I've hit them all with PB Blast already. I'm now going to figure out what socket that is and get those out. But first I'm going to loosen those hose clamps, pull those back, and disconnect those hoses. I'll probably use a small flathead screwdriver to help walk off the hose. Looks like they've been on there forever, which they have been. So now I'm going to tackle the 10mm bolts all around the plate there. I'm not sure how many there are. It looks like there's 3, 6, 8, about maybe 10 of them all together, and then I'm going to figure out that electrical connection there on the top. Alright, so I got all 9 of the bolts out. There were 9, not 10. And what I also did is I went through and I retightened the hose clamps down on the hose so they wouldn't roll off and into the tank when I pull this assembly out. This connection here, electrical connector here, the yellow one you see right there, does not come off. What you do is you follow the lines back, and toward the back of the car, there was a regular 4-prong connector here. There is a little plastic tan retainer clip. You just pull that part off, lift this gate, and pull back, and it comes right off. So now, as you can see, everything's going to come out, and it kind of looks like a big J almost. Whole assembly is going to come out. There's going to be the float on it and the pump at the bottom. You're going to want to. I'm going to need to use 2 hands. I won't be able to film this part of it, but you're just going to be very slowly working that out and away and out of the car, which is another reason why, again, why it's important. Tie these hose clamps down. You don't want these falling into the tank, because you're going to have a big open door into the gas tank right here. I just bench tested the pump after getting it out of the Corvette. I took the sock off the bottom of it, threw it away, and on the connector here, the black wire is ground, the gray one is power, and using my tester here, I put power to it, and it blew gas out the supply line, and the pump ran. So that's disheartening. I also just checked the fuel pump fuse. It's in the door panel of the passenger side. You simply remove the fuse plate. It's the bottom right fuse in there. It's 10 amp. It's marked FR for fuel relay, and it's right here behind this panel. You open it up. It was kind of a hard thing to do to get on and off. I'm not gonna take it off again. But the bottom right fuse over here, it's red. It's 10 amps. That's your fuel relay fuse. That was good too. At this point, since the pumps are known for failing, and I have the pump here and everything's on, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the pump here. Just gonna pop it off the bracket here. There's a connection here, and go ahead and put the new one on, and then throw this back into the car. I am gonna do some research first. I know this is the pulsar. I'm gonna see if there's any way to test that first before I put that back in. It does look kind of beat. Maybe that is the issue as well. All right, so I got the new pump transferred over. The new pump did not come with the new sock. I'm gonna check online real quick to see if we can get one of those. I actually had another fuel pump. I didn't even know it for the 92 Trans Am for back in the day. It's actually the same pump, it looks like, too. I could just use this, but in any event, this one either that I bought 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, doesn't have a sock in it either. So I didn't know that was like a special order part. I figured it would just came with the new fuel pump, but guess not. So I went on the old interwebs, and I did some more reading and research. It is recommended you replace this fuel pulsator when you do the fuel pump. A lot of people eliminate it with this piece of a 5/16 hose and some two stainless steel hose clamps. It just sat right here on the line. One end goes into the feed line, and the other end goes on the top of the pump. All it does is knock down fuel noise, I guess, and regulates fuel, helps alleviate spikes in the fuel line from the injectors pulsating and everything else. It's probably just a diaphragm inside, is my guess. The rubber hose is supposed to act similar. I'm guessing the flex of the rubber hose works in a similar manner as this pulsator. So I'm gonna get some 5/16 rubber hose, probably get about 4 inches and just cut it down to size. And it's literally just gonna go right here with a hose clamp, and then the other hose clamp on top of the pump here. When I had this all together, I bench tested it again. The new pump ran fine. So this will be one less thing to eliminate. I also did get a fuel pump relay from the store as well. I'm going to pick these up tomorrow morning, as well as the sock. I can't believe the sock is not included with the fuel pump. Of course it's not. So much for doing this in one night. The whole garage smells like gasoline now, of course. The pro shop here. So tomorrow, have the parts in hand. It might be another couple days before I can get out here again and continue the project. So more to come. Okay, so it's been a couple days now, and I've done some more research. This is the fuel pump pulsator here. You see, it's just it's basically a diaphragm in there to help it with fuel line spikes. The consensus is you're going to replace it with a piece of 5/16 hose, which is what we're going to do here. I'm going to measure the length, let you know how long to cut. I got way more than enough here. You probably only need about 2 or 3 inches of it. And get this all connected. Got stainless steel hose clamps. As it turned out, the 1/4 inch to 5/8 hose clamps fit better on this hose than the actual 5/16 clamps. They were gigantic on this hose, so I didn't go with that. And the infamous fuel pump strainer sock that does not come with the fuel pump. There's the part number if you need it. So, more good things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the fuel pump back onto the mount here. I'm going to measure the width from the top of the pump to the line here, cut my hose, and then connect it all, and then I'll show you what that looks like here. So as you can see, it lines up really close. It's not going to need a lot of hose at all. So I'm just going to go ahead now and measure that and cut the hose, and we'll come back. This is the final result. It was about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches long, whatever you're comfortable with. There's the hose clamps on it. It looks good. Everything's installed right. We're going to put the sock on the bottom of it now and connect it and bench test it again. I want to show you this here. This is my electrical systems diagnoser. Supposed to hook up to a car battery. I just happen to have a 12-volt power supply, and I just connect the leads to the power, positive and negative, and you see the probe has power here. I've attached a ground probe to the end here from a multimeter, and basically all you do is ground is the black wire here. That goes in there like so, and then you rock the button there to up. That will give it power, and you can then put the power probe into the gray port over here, and you should hear the motor run. I'm going to try now and do it with one hand just to show it, which is mission impossible. Let's see if I can actually do this. Turn it on before you give it power. There it goes. You heard it run. new pump is good to go. It's just like the old one was, of course, so who knows. I think it's the relay from what I tested before. I do have a new relay here. There's a part number for the relay. We're going to get to that in a second here. I am now going to reinstall the pump assembly back into the tank. Just make sure as you're putting it in that the float here is in the tray in the tank. You can't miss the tray. It's a giant piece inside the gas tank. Let's go take a look at that. And if you pull this back, you see the tray down in there. That's for the float. So there we go. This is the feed. This is the primary one that will feed where the pump throws the gas to the engine, and this is the return line coming back from there. If I do the relay and nothing else starts, there is an option to clamp off this return line here, and that will test the fuel pressure regulator system, but I'm hoping we don't have to do that here. So I'm going to go ahead now and put the pump back in. There's a gasket here. You can replace it. I didn't do it. Mine looks pretty good condition. It's just rubber. I don't see any cracks or anything yet, so I'm just going to leave it as it is and get to reassembly here. And obviously, you're just going to reverse all the steps you did to take it out. Of course, putting the sock on was mission impossible with everything connected. So I actually had to take the assembly apart again, put the sock down, and push the pump into the sock to get this thing to really clamp on and stay on. It was just popping off every 2 seconds. It'd fall off right in the tank if I didn't do this. So put the sock on first with all the rubber on, and now the sock is pliable. You can bend it here. You're gonna work it through the channel here as you reinstall the pump. I believe for the L98 engines up to 1989, the fuel pump relay is located right here next to the window wiper motor. It's the relay right here. There's two 10mm nuts holding it on the bracket there. I'm gonna take those off and just so I can more easily access it, and then switch the new relay over to the bracket. If you have a 1990, I believe through 96 Corvette, it's gonna be under the passenger side kick panel, up under the dash. You'll see 5 relays in a row. It should be the middle relay marked B. The cover to the panel will have the markings on there. From what I saw online and all that documentation, that should be the one you want. If you have the manual car, there will be an additional relay here. I can't remember what it is, but the one next to the motor against the firewall is the fuel pump relay. The other relay would be over here if there's an extra one, and that's not the one you want. So here's the old one. So it sounds like it's a little loose. I didn't actually probe this and test it. There is a way you can go through all that, but on the top of it, there's a schematic of how the relay operates, and it totally matches the schematic of the new one. This one has no noise to it. The bracket's already on it. Wonderful. I'm just gonna reconnect it now and put it back on. All I had to do was take it off, was pull back the tab on the old one, and then really hold the bottom of it and pull the top out. It was on there pretty good with the gasket on the wiring harness. So I'm just gonna reconnect this, put it back onto the firewall, reattach the 2 10mm bolts, and then cross my nuts and hope it starts. Moment of truth. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if we hear it prime. No, I heard a click. Still hearing that clicking sound. All right. On to the next thing. As you can see, I got the gas can out here. I did some more debugging with everything, and I had my wife come out, test the ignition. I'm seeing voltage at the fuel relay fuse. I know I didn't show this before, but I'm going to show it now because it's off. It's right here in the bottom corner, 10 amp. I see voltage across that for about 2 seconds when it goes to accessory, and as she cranks, I also see the voltage there as well. And I just put a probe in there on the 2 pins. Still no fuel pressure though. Have that hooked up again, nothing. Back here, the back of the car, I probed the ECM side of the connector here. I see voltage across it for 2 seconds when it goes into accessory and while it's cranking. And I also manually drove the fuel pump with the tester like I did on the bench and primed the hose. Still no pressure on the gauge. We reconnected everything. I put my ear up to it. She put it in accessory. I can hear the fuel pump running for 2 seconds. And I could not hear it while it's cranking. It's just too loud, but I'm going to assume it's doing it. My guess is it's out of gas, and that the gauge on the end of the float, the fuel gauge there is actually malfunctioning, so I'd have to pull this all out again. But I hope that's it. So now that I've done this once, it's no big deal to take that out again. We'll just make another video showing how to replace that. But when I looked in the tank, there was gas in it. It just might be too low for the pump to pick up. And if the gauge is malfunctioning, that would be why. She said when she left her to come home the night the car died, she had 3/4 of a tank of gas. And the last time I actually looked at the fuel gauge in there, even though I was in there looking, I didn't actually look at the gauge now. It said it was 3/4 of a tank, and when I dropped it off with the tow truck that night, it had like 2 bars. So it reminds me of a time back when I was like my late teens driving. Same thing happened to me on the highway. I had a winter car. I went to go on the highway, got in the left lane, put my foot down, and the car mimicked exactly what she said. It started to putter, it started to die. I got it towed to a Goodyear, and they did all the same things. They tested everything, couldn't figure out what it was, and it was just that it was out of gas because it looked like the arm inside the tank had been bent on a previous fix. So even though it said I had gas, I had none. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dump, I mean, it is literally 5 gallons of gas in this thing. It is to the brim. I got this thing gassed all the way up to the very top. So I'm going to shove a bunch of gas in this thing. I'm going to try and start it again. I just put about 6 gallons of gas in this thing. Let's go ahead and turn the key to accessory, Kim. I still don't see any fuel pressure on the gauge. Try and start it. Nothing. All right. All right, so I noticed just now as I went to go disconnect the fuel gauge that it actually had 20 pounds in it. And I just primed it by turning it to accessory, which Kim is going to do now again. And we have fuel pressure. It looks like we just had to get the air out of the line, and it was out of gas. Please start the car. All right, car is started. Seems to be okay. What's the gas gauge read? Pretty low? Just below half. So I don't trust that gauge, though. We're going to replace it. Give us some gas, Kim. Give us some more gas. I think we figured it out. It was just out of gas. So $400 later, we got it running. But got a nice video on how to troubleshoot it, that's for sure. Never a dull moment. Give it a little more gas again. Gauge looks good. Keep doing that. It's holding up. Okay. Go ahead. What do you say, Bella? Good deal? Yay. She's happy. So now that we have everything working, I have to get this car onto the lift. We gotta fix the oil pan drain plug leak because it's pissing oil everywhere. And we have to fix the hood latch, which also broke, as you can see right here. It broke under the dash over there, but then this part of the release here broke off too that holds the retainer on, so we'll have to figure out how we're gonna fix that. I already have a new cable that already showed up. So last thing you can see here too is when I do the dump on the fuel pressure, there it goes into my catch can, and there goes all the fuel. And make sure we get all that. And now we're gonna take our time and get this off the car. Make sure you have a rag here when you pull this off the Schrader valve. You will get some gas everywhere. Be careful with that. The car on the lift now. And for the next video on this car, it's gonna be solving this mess. So I'm gonna start with a new gasket sealer here. They sell these copper ones of different types of things here. Seems to be a common problem from when I was reading, so I'm gonna try something else. I might get a whole new bolt with it on it, so I can quickly pull this one off and clog it with my finger, and then swap to the new one really quick. Maybe if Brian and I do it together, we can do it really quick and not lose maybe a cup of oil doing it. So I'd hate to have to put a whole another 5 quarts of oil in this thing because I had to drain it all out. But we should be able to conquer this. So stay tuned for that next. Then hopefully the Viper, and then some Durango brakes. And you, my friend, you are a nightmare. But I'm gonna turn it into a dream. We'll get you going soon, friend. So there you have it. I hope this video helped you out. Remember to put fuel in your car first before you even attempt to debug this. Another thing to note, in my 92 Trans Am, the same L98 engine, pump and everything, when you put the key into accessory, you could clearly hear the pump prime. In the Corvette, you couldn't hear anything. You really need 2 people to really hear that pump prime. It wasn't until I got my wife into the car and made her put the key into accessory, and I put my ear up to the gas tank over there, that I could actually hear the pump running and working in it. So remember to do that. So I hope you liked the video. Please remember to like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.